Morning, mate.
Morning, mate.
You alright?
Looking forward to a busy day?
That is the million-dollar question at the moment.
Transfer, daily and deal, back again.
At home, normally I've stood outside in the cold, but obviously it's a nice day today, so hopefully there'll be a few deals on the go, but you just never know. Got a long way to go. But I think the issue for them would probably be the wages. Like, what kind of money is he on at Leicester? And I don't think Newcastle are going to break their wage structure. So I think the most he would get in Newcastle would be around 100, 110,000. So I've just been on the phone there to one of my colleagues who covers Leicester, asking him about Yuri Tielemans, because I think he's a player that Newcastle have obviously had interest in this window. I think the issue with Tielemans for Newcastle is the wages. Obviously he's only got a year left in his contract at Leicester, so if he lets that run until the end of the season, he can command whatever he wants in the summer. I've got a list here of sort of who the deals that could potentially be alive today on deadline day. Tielemans, who I've mentioned. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is someone that they've inquired about, but he's on his way to Southampton. And then the other one I need to ask questions about is João Pedro. They were close to getting him over a week ago. It's gone quiet now. He looked great for Watford the other night against Middlesbrough. A lot of people were asking me about Gakpo of PSV. I had my colleague on the phone earlier to say that Gakpo actually, the Leeds had a flight waiting for him out in Holland to bring him back here to the UK to sign the deal, but he never got on that flight. At the moment with Newcastle, you almost need to expect the unexpected. We saw that last week with Alexander Isak. Like, nobody expected him to arrive, and then suddenly within 24 hours it changed. So I just think we need to be awake and alert for things changing with Newcastle. So I've just had a message there from a good contact. See, this is what happens. Phone's just going on.
This is deadline day.
I'll just cancel that. I've had a message from my contact there. It's just said, I might have one for you, give me an hour. So interesting to see what that's going to be. There's a couple of reports that Matthew Longstaff is going to Barnsley. I have had one person telling me that, but also someone else who's involved in the deal has just said to me, depends to where, and I've asked him Barnsley, and he said, no mate, we'll be in touch. So that sounds like it's maybe up in the air at the moment as well. He might have a couple of choices. So this is what happens. At this stage, there's quite often a number of clubs coming in late for certain players.
What about other clubs then? We've talked about Newcastle. What about the other North East clubs in Middlesbrough, Sunderland? Are they active in the window today?
Well, I was at Sunderland last night and they paraded 4 players on the pitch at half time. I spoke to Tony Mowbray after the game and he said he's looking to add at least 2 more, and he'd already spoken to those players. So I'm going to speak to people at Sunderland soon to try and find out who they are bringing in. Middlesbrough, I've just had a message there from an agent to say, again, not a big one, but their striker Josh Coburn is getting loaned out to Bristol Rovers, and that's agreed. They're still trying to bring in a midfielder of their own. So they were trying to get Frank Onyeka from Brentford 2 days ago, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen now, so we'll wait and see on that one. That Arsenal have joined the race for Douglas Luiz of Villa, which would then mean, I guess, if they get Douglas Luiz, they're not then going to bring Tielemans in. They don't need 2 players in that position. So could that open the door for Newcastle? It's always felt like there's a bit of competition between Arsenal and Newcastle potentially for Tielemans. So could that open a door for Newcastle? That's what we're trying to look into at the moment. Yeah, so things have changed a little bit in recent years. Normally I'd be at the stadium first thing in the morning, but I'm heading off to the stadium now to do a couple of lives, be in position for potentially things happening. That could be me for the rest of the day now, right through until midnight tonight. So important. I've got my phone charger. Phone keeps going non-stop. But listen, eerily quiet for Newcastle given the situation they're in. So we remain hopeful something will happen. So let's get down there and get in position to do some lives. Different clothes, you never know what's going to happen.
Where's the tie?
Oh, no ties anymore. The yellow tie is long gone. This is as casual as it gets these days. Trainers a lot. Well, they've got Emil Kraft's out for most of the season now, so they need another right back. But he's only played a couple of games for West Ham. So it sounds like Harrison Ashby's got legs. Tielemans is an outside chance. Sorry, not Tielemans. Pulisic's an outside chance. So here we are at the stadium, St James's Park, with a long day of lives potentially ahead of us. So just arriving at the stadium, I've actually literally just come off the call there to a contact that's saying that there's potentially 2 deals for Newcastle at the moment. One is Harrison Ashby, the West Ham right back, who Newcastle could sign today to come in and essentially be back up to Kieran Trippier, highly rated young Scottish player. David Moyes doesn't want to lose him. And the second one, which is a lot more exciting, I think, as far as Newcastle United fans are concerned, is Christian Pulisic, the Chelsea winger. So the information there is that Newcastle are trying to do a loan deal for him on deadline day, but obviously a lot of things have to fall into place. Chelsea have to sanction it, and I think they said a couple of days ago they were not going to do that, so we're going to try and find out if their stance has softened a little bit. Yeah, this is my normal arrival time. Reggie, this is Simon, the cameraman, who gets fed up with me being late all the time. Reggie, our security guard, just in case it kicks off a bit later on. I'm just putting a tweet together at the moment saying Newcastle are trying to do a transfer deadline day loan deal for Christian Pulisic. I'll also get an email ready to send in to our desk as well. We've just arrived at the stadium. Obviously, I'm not in a position to report this yet. So what I'll do is I'll just save it in my drafts for now, and hopefully we're able to report that pretty soon. This is the line I'm putting out just now, send it into our news desk. They're in talks for Harrison Ashby, and yeah, that's about to go out. I'll probably mention it in my live shortly. Okay, so that's my cameraman who's up at the training ground with a camera saying that it's all quiet at the moment. He says there's no fans there yet. But yeah, we've got a cameraman up at the training ground to keep an eye on things, as well as a camera here at the stadium for live. So it's 12:30, just 12:30 lunchtime, and I've just had an update from someone involved high up at Newcastle, high level contact, who said possibly 1 or 2, but 50-50 at the moment. So this could be a fairly significant day for Newcastle. It could be nothing, but that is the way it works on deadline day. So they're working on 2 deals as we speak at lunchtime. Finally doing a live.
Getting ready for the live first one of the day.
First one of the day, taking a while. It really has. Hopefully that means there's something happening.
Let's hope so.
Harrison Ashby, he's just 20 years of age, but Newcastle, if they can get him, see him as first team material, as backup to Kieran Trippier. Of course, Emil Kraft is out injured for at least 6, potentially 9 months with an ACL injury, and they want to bring in reinforcements in that.
Eating on the go there, O'Keefe?
No time to waste. Yeah, I'm just, it's nearly 4 o'clock, I'm just composing something just now. It sounds like Newcastle have been frustrated in their attempts, not just to bring in a player on loan, but to even potentially bring in Harrison Ashby as well. I'd mentioned Christian Pulisic earlier, they do want to bring him in on loan, but because Chelsea have not managed to bring someone in themselves in that position to allow Pulisic out, they're not allowing him to go. It was just a very similar situation with Gallagher as well. So I'm putting a tweet together regarding that, sending it into the news desk, and also Jan Bednarek, the fact that Bednarek is potentially now going to Villa instead of West Ham is having a knock-on effect for Newcastle's attempts to get the youngster Harrison Ashby. So this is what it's like on deadline day. There's a domino effect, and they need other things to fall into the right place for it to work for them. So at this moment in time, they're getting pretty frustrated, I think, at the situation. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen for them, but I'm told they're still trying, and they have been trying today, but that's the nature of deadline day. I heard yourself and Shay talking in the last hour about the current situation, and I think they did want to add today. I think they do still want to, but I think the clubs that they're dealing with are the clubs they're trying to get players from on loan. So it could have been a good day. I think at one stage today we thought that Pulisic was going to arrive and we could have had a bit of a fanfare, but you know, yes, there's still 5 or 6 hours to go, but unless something changes dramatically and Chelsea brings someone else in that position, I can't see them allowing Pulisic to go. So I think it's key to remember, though, we were stood here in this spot the exact point last week and announcing Newcastle signing Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad in a record-breaking deal, 58 rising to 63, huge amount of money spent this time last week, and I think we need to remember that. Deadline day for Newcastle United, despite their best efforts to try and bring in at least 1, potentially 2 new signings. on the final day of the window. They attempted to bring in Christian Pulisic from Chelsea on loan, but were told no by the Blues. It was a similar situation with Conor Gallagher as well, but they kind of knew that going into deadline day anyway. Harrison Ashby was the one player they wanted to bring in on a permanent contract from West Ham United, the young fullback, but the Hammers said no when they realised that they were failing to land Jan Bednarek, who chose Villa.
Here we are, back home. Long day standing car parks, but no deals done for Newcastle United. How was that as a normal deadline day?
Yeah, I have to say, you might have thought it was a long day, but it didn't feel, or it certainly wasn't as long for me as some have in the past. We're back home here a little bit earlier than normally would be, purely because I got word from the club that they were closed for business. Yeah, a disappointing day for Newcastle, I have to say, in terms of bringing anyone in, but listen, I think you need to look at the window as a whole. They would have liked to have potentially added one or maybe two a push today, but for what they've done throughout the window, you know, they've really improved their starting 11. They smashed their transfer record. They brought in Sven Botman, who was a top target for them in January. So they have done a lot. And I think for Newcastle, they say they want to build slowly. They say it again and again. It comes from the top at the club. The manager says it as well. So that's what they're doing. They've added 4 quality players, and I think they'll be pleased with their business. Yes, they did finish it off with a deadline day today. It was like that in January as well, when I think they brought in Hugo Ekitike and it failed. So listen, these things happen on deadline day. I would have loved it to happen today. It would have been great for you as well for that happening if we'd had a new player arriving, but sadly it didn't happen. So yeah, they go into the remainder of the season with what they've got, but crucially you need to remember they don't have that many games until the next transfer window. So I think it's maybe 13, 14 games, 13 games between now and January transfer window. So, you know, the squad looks strong enough, even with the injuries they've got at the moment, to cope.
And there's always January, isn't there? We'll go again in January.
We'll go again in January. You might not last all day in January because it'll be about 20 degrees colder. The January ones are always very, very difficult. But listen, we go again in January. There might be a deadline day arrival. There might be a huge one on the day, and we always kind of hope for that happening. But sadly, today it wasn't to be. Newcastle tried to land a couple, didn't work out for them. But I think overall they're pleased with what they've got. So yeah, it's been a long summer transfer window. I'll certainly happy to see the back of it and concentrate on the football now.